I came back from Poland, discovering that my ability to speak the language of music naturally was not common and that people got excited about it, you came to me and said, we ought to try this together. And I said, it's not possible. I can do this with dancers, but you know, when I'm creating, I'm kind of not thinking of anything and I don't know where I'm going, and how in the world would anybody know where I'm going? And I don't want to, you know, have to focus on
anybody else.
On anybody else, exactly.
You're the master of your own universe.
Well, I was, until you convinced me that there was something more, and you changed my life.
Well, part of it is because I'm a jazz musician, so I play and improvise with people all the time. But we're improvising on a specific structure, a harmonic structure. It's not free improvisation. There are
when
some
you say we,
you're
talking about the jazz improvisers.
Yeah, any of
right.
the jazz groups I played with, or whenever you improvise, you're improvising on a specific harmonic, you know.
Exactly. You have a roadmap to follow.
Yeah, you got a roadmap.
That's
exactly.
right. And what we're doing, what we did,
is a high wire act.
What we did in our first album together, In the Moment, which is the first collaboration. Well, I did do an album with
marimba player.
Vibe player, Carl Berger, yeah, marimba.
Carl.
Great.
Yeah.
But Carl and I were not really doing composition. It was more atmospheric, jazz, new age.
Right, ambient music.
Ambient music, right. Not, you know, no strain, no fuss. Great. It's a beautiful album. Soulscapes, ladies and gentlemen, soulscapes. But what we did is instant composition, really complex compositions, and the kind of compositions that, you know, Edition Peters, the oldest European publisher in the world, is planning on putting out in print, as they've done with some of my other instant composition works. And it's all your fault, because...
Well, I think some of it is because we're both composers. We both know how to develop material. So when you're playing jazz with somebody, or even if you're trying to do free improvisation, they're players. Those are players. They have command of their instrument. They know what to do with it. They have a lot of repertory under their fingers. But they don't really, unless they're composers, and some are, but unless they're composers, they're not really building a composition that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it goes somewhere. It's just like it's like meandering through a garden of G minor or A minor or whatever. It's not really making a piece. And it actually took us, what, 2 sessions before we started to do anything that sounded decent?
That's correct. You and I worked through some of the techniques to get it going, the ability to take an idea and pass it back and forth without even thinking about it. At the piano, I guess I'm creating a sort of a structure, and then you're developing the structure, and we're developing it together.
Right.
And the you know, I'm thinking of 2 pieces on In the Moment, Schizo Scherzo and Looking for Kiji, which are such complex compositions. How did they happen in real time?
I think part of it is that when you start with one idea and you know how to develop material, and then we know each other so well after 52
Well, we went to
years.
School together. We were composition majors together.
So I kind of know your style. You sort of know my style. So we can intuit where each of us might go. But even with that, it's a high wire act. Sometimes you turn left, I turn right, and then you don't have a piece.
Right.
You have a collection of nice little vignettes, but it doesn't hang together as a piece.
Right.
And that was the beauty of...
How many hours of music do you think we recorded to get the maybe 50 minutes of music that's on that album?
Well, it's easy. We did 4 hours on October 10th, 2010. This is where my memory comes in half. Then we did another 4 hours in January of 2011. Then we did 4 days of recording, about 6 hours each day, a little more. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the 13, 14, 15, and 16 of March of 2011. And that's when the best stuff happened, because I came every day, got up in the morning, packed up my tenor.
It was your job.
And came, it was my gig for the day, and came up here. And when you do it, and you do it, and you do it, suddenly you're in a space where you know where the other person is going, And that's when we got the best stuff. We recorded 23 tracks. Only about 15 are usable. The others have a lot of nice sections of material, but they don't hang together as a composition. And that's the difference between normal improvised music, because there's a whole subculture of free improvisers around the country. They're in Brooklyn, they're in Boston, they're in Chicago,
they're
San
in
Francisco.
Tallinn, Estonia, and I got into an incredible argument in a master class with a pianist who insisted that what I was doing was being done by all kinds of people, and I said, well, yeah, who are they? Give me the names. You know, she sent me names. I looked them up. Nobody's doing anything like what we're doing.
No, because they do it, but when you hear their stuff, it's really interesting and affecting, but it's not a composition. It doesn't hang together. A composition of Beethoven or Mozart or Brahms or Bruckner or even John Adams, you know, you crawl into a universe, a sonic universe, and you make something that allows the audience to realize that they hear a theme, and the theme is developed, and the theme is expanded, and the theme is climaxed at the end, and you hear a piece. And that's what we've tried to do that not a lot of people do. And we talked about Chuck Israels a second ago.
Let's talk about Chuck for a
because
second. Bill Evans.
Chuck Israels was the bass player with Bill Evans' trio for 5.5 years. And
one of the most
revered still to this day.
Incredible
he died young,
pianist,
and an incredible composer and incredible pianist, and was addicted, so he had an early exit. His expiration date was well too early, but and Chuck learned a lot from Bill Evans. He was only 24, 25 when he started playing with Chuck, with Bill. But when
and a fabulous bass player in his own right.
Yeah, he's a sensational bass player, and he was director of jazz studies up at Western Washington University for 24 years. Now he's retired in Portland. He's got his own band and doing great stuff. But when I said we were going to do this, free improvisation, he said, it's a complete waste of time. And I said, why? He said, people have been doing that for years. He said, it's a game. You like to get together and play. That's fine. He said, but nothing good ever comes from it. He says, show me the masterpieces. Name me the masterpieces. He said, I don't care if you want to talk Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, anybody. He said, there's no masterpieces there. And so he said, send me something. And I thought, I'm not going to send him anything because he's going to cut it to ribbons. And so I sent him a piece. And he pretty much did cut it to the first piece, one of the first pieces.
Snowflakes. Was it Snowflakes?
Yeah, I sent him Snowflakes. And he said, first of all, let me get past it. He says, the playing is of the highest order. He says, it's virtuosic playing. He said, but after that, he said, there's no development. There's no, and in truth,
yeah,
that
Snowflakes
is
that's
not one of the
more
best pieces.
Atmospheric type of piece.
So then later on, I sent him, and when I got the email, I thought, that's what I expected. You know, he's very critical. He's hypercritical. And then I sent him looking for Kiji, and he wrote back this amazing treatise of now you're talking. This is fantastic. I don't know how you guys did this.
But getting back to Chuck, essentially, this man who's one of the most experienced jazz musicians with all kinds of jazz, including free jazz, felt that what we accomplished, he'd never heard anybody in the world do.
Yeah,
and
it was very laudatory in a way I never expected. I thought he would like it better than the first piece, Snowflakes, but I didn't expect this glowing report, and it was like he discovered oil under his bed. You know, he really went crazy over it, and then the more I took a long time to try and transcribe it and put it on paper so that somebody else, two other people, not us, but two other people could play what we improvised and listen to the recording and pretty much be able to see on paper what we created.
Right.
And that turns out to be hard. It's not hard to take a jazz solo off a record, which I did for years, took off Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane and everybody, because there's rhythm and you know where the bar line starts, you know where beat 1 is, and now it's just a matter of figuring out what notes and what rhythms they're playing. But when you're
creating in real time,
it's like,
which I prefer. When you say improvised, people, you know, they think jazz because that's
first,
all they know. So really, what we're doing is we're creating in real time. It's improvised composition, and it's akin to what must have been going on in the 18th and 19th centuries.
No question.
But there was no way to record any of that stuff.
Right.
In those days. So by the time Chopin wrote an impromptu, his mind was completely involved. And, you know, I mean, the beauty of what we'd been able to do when we got it right was capture a level of inspiration that would elude either of us if we were composing in a conventional way, I think.
I think that's true, and I think part of it is the relationship between us because we've known each other so long. So, but I think in the 18th and 19th century, almost every performer improvised. Every composer certainly improvised. All those Beethoven piano concertos and Mozart piano concertos that you go to hear the LA Philharmonic or the Boston Symphony, whoever, all of those piano concertos were improvised by the composer, the entire cadenza.
Right.
And those were improvisations that were, I'm sure they tried it one way and then tried it another way and settled on it.
I am sure that Mozart probably didn't get around to writing down the piano parts to some of his concertos till after he performed them. I would not be surprised. And I say that because I did that myself when I did the Miracle at Midnight concerto with Noreen Green. I didn't get around to notating the piano part till after the performance. Anyhow, Jim, thank you for being part of this, and thank you more than anything for opening me up to the possibilities of creating in real time with another creator.